Believe, where is the stream? Right. Hello, everybody. How's sound? Can you hear me well? How's the sound? Right. We starting watching. We've got the rapist after the court cases. Let's have a look. They say.
Here in this Los Angeles County and witness the worst miscarriage of justice that this world has ever seen.
This is what Tony Lanez's father said before his son was sentenced to prison after the mind-boggling controversy with Megan Thee Stallion. And guess what? The case is still talked about to this day. Like many rappers, Tory was all kinds of mad after he lost the trial, but this was nothing compared to the other rappers who messed with the law. Join us as we look at rappers reacting to their prison sentences. Starting off with Jonathan Jamal Porter, also known as Blueface, who was arrested back in 2023 on an attempted charge. The 26-year-old rapper was involved in a shooting outside a Las Vegas strip club that took place on October 8, 2022. Porter was driving by the club when a man, identified as Kentavious Traylor, allegedly made a joke about him. This caused Blueface to fire his gun at him. Luckily, the bullet just grazed Traylor on his arm, but Porter wasn't going to walk out a free man after this altercation. But what was the joke that got the rapper so angry that he had to shoot a gun at Traylor? Well, reports say that Traylor simply commented about Blueface speaking with some females in a cheap vehicle. While the altercation was happening, Traylor tried to get in his truck, which looked like he was reaching for a gun. Porter and his men shot at him in an act of self-defense. The court gave the rapper a 24-month sentence with a maximum of 60 months for the crime. But before the trial, Porter faced 2 civil cases which were related to the alleged shooting. These cases were paused because he was in trouble for other criminal activity that happened during that time. He was arrested on a robbery charge the previous month for stealing a fan's phone at the Palms Casino. Apparently, a fan was recording him without his permission, and a female associate of Porter's struck the woman. As far as the case with the shooting goes, Traylor was not happy with the outcome.
I know people who get more time for stealing bubblegum, honestly. I know people who do more time for stealing TVs than they do for shooting somebody. I'm just completely disappointed in all of this. I hate the way my name was ridiculed in the social media before I could even find out about it. Like I said, just this complete process has been a complete drop of the ball.
This frustration was because of how his image was ruined and how he couldn't find a job or have faith in the justice system anymore. Traylor thinks he didn't get the justice he deserved and has completely given up on the system. What's crazier is that Blueface has a criminal record of violence, specifically in Las Vegas. He recently violated his probation, which extended his sentence even more. Porter calmly accepted his sentence, but some rappers have done much worse and think that they could be off the hook easily. Take a look at the case of Darrell Brooks, also known as Mathboy Fly. This is one of the most horrific crimes carried out by a rapper, and it all happened on November 24, 2021. The 39-year-old drove a red 2010 Ford Escape SUV at 40 miles per hour through the annual Christmas parade in Waukesha, Wisconsin. The parade was live-streamed, and Brooks ignored the police trying to stop him. He ended up driving through dozens of people without a care in the world. A closer look at the rapper revealed that Mathboy Fly was never an innocent person to begin with. But before getting into the details of the criminal record, you might not be familiar with who Mathboy Fly is as a rapper. That's because his career never went the way he intended it to. The police figured out that the person who drove through the Christmas parade was Mathboy because the red SUV he was driving was the same one in his music video of a song called Half a Ticket. Now, according to Wisconsin court records, Brooks was convicted of possession, obstructing an officer, battery, and bail jumping. These convictions date back to 1999, and it looks like he never learned his lesson. Mathboy was arrested 3 weeks before the massacre in Waukesha for a domestic dispute at a gas station. He assaulted his ex-girlfriend using the same vehicle. How many victims can one SUV even take? In court, Brooks defended himself when dealing with the domestic abuse case. There was a moment in the trial when Daryl even yelled at the judge because he was struggling to understand the rules of the court.
This is not a game to me, Your Honor. Nothing about this is a joke. That's what y'all don't understand.
But
and it's unfair, and it's disrespectful to me that you think I would come in here purposely and treat this like a joke or a game.
I never said it was a joke.
What type of statement is that? Your life is not on the line. Mine is.
This outburst was after Brooks kept interrupting and arguing with the judge. It was obvious that he was losing hope of winning the trial. After the records of the SUV and the massacre were matched with Brooks, he was arrested and charged with 5 counts of first-degree intentional homicide. But the legal trouble didn't end there. 77 additional charges were filed.
Say goodbye to old costly cable TV once and for all. This revolutionary invention gives you access to your favorite channels and movies completely free of charge. Greedy cable corporations are trying their best to outlaw it. The device, surpassing standard cable companies in channel offerings and HD quality, deploys cutting-edge chip technology to capture satellite TV signals. It gives access to content across all major media platforms, eliminating the need for expensive contracts or monthly
against the rapper for the attack. This included 61 of first-degree recklessly endangering safety with a firearm, 6 counts of hit and run involving people losing their lives, 2 counts of felony, bail jumping, and 2 counts of domestic abuse. During the trial, Judge Dero was very patient with the rapper who knew nothing about the law. He was escorted out of the courtroom several times for his unprofessional behavior. He would interrupt, glare, backtalk, and throw tantrums at the judge. Comments on the trial by people praised the judge for being so patient and professional with someone like Brooks. The trial went on till November 16, 2022, almost a year after the incident. Brooks was given a total of 6 life sentences without parole. 1 sentence was given for each of the deceased victims. 17.5 years were given on behalf of each one. The judge named every single victim who lost their lives due to Brooks's ambush.
This is clearly someone with a demonstrated violent history and past. Someone who has absolutely no regard for anyone but himself. To say that he is a lifelong criminal, I think is accurate.
Daryl could do nothing but look down and hear what the judge had to say, including the permanent ticket behind bars. His career flashed before his eyes, just like Florida rapper K Shorty, also known as Therese Powell, who threw it all away for some internet beef that could have easily been avoided. Just when his rap career was about to pop off, and he was about to be signed to Gucci Mane's record label, he was at the top of his game. His music was getting popular on TikTok and YouTube, which are basically the 2 platforms that guarantee a successful career. In 2020, Tyrese made a rival out of another up-and-coming rapper from Florida called Spinabenz. Powell was faced with online humiliation when his enemy posted a video of the soon-to-be famous rapper twerking in the bathroom. Now, there were many issues with this. First, K Shorty had to deal with the internet calling him out for being which most members of the rap community don't fly with. He defended himself, saying that it was a really old video, back when he wanted to be an internet-famous comedian. Spinabenz was also under fire for posting a video like that of a minor, which could have been a criminal offense. In August 2020, Powell was part of a shootout between rival gangs, and the police apprehended him for carrying clear evidence at the scene of the crime. He was shot in the leg near an AR-15 rifle and its bullet shell casings 70 yards away from him. The rapper's DNA was also found on a hoodie with 2 holes on the back that were used as a mask to hide his identity. Poway was found guilty and sentenced to 12 years in prison because his song, On Yo Ass, narrated the whole incident. To defend himself in front of the judge and jury, he said,
"I'm not a bad kid. I just grew up around."
This is when you fuck around, you're gonna find out. This is these young people are crazy, I have to say. Whatever they're doing is out of this. I don't know, man. It's crazy, man.
in a neighborhood where it's kind of hard to not be a product of your environment. I seen shootings, killings in front of my eyes. I seen somebody die in front of me. At the age of 14, I never told nobody. My friend was killed by the police when I was 16.
Paui was trying to share his side of the story and wanted to give the jury his backstory, hoping it was sad enough to reduce the sentence. It didn't matter much because the judge still gave him 12 years. K Shorty gave one last look to his family before he was sent to prison, and a large chunk of his childhood and fame were gone forever. September 28th, 2021, he was back in court along with Jacoby Skies after being charged with These two were prime suspects in the shootout that happened at a gas station on Lenox Avenue. Noah Williams, also known as Spinabenz, was driving a car with two friends, Dasan Williams, or Greenlight, and Xavier, who goes by 187 No Face. Shots were fired from a Range Rover parked opposite their Dodge Challenger. Williams and Greenlight made a run for it, leaving No Face behind. Xavier lost his life, and the perpetrators made it out safe. This was until officers pursued a similar Range Rover in the Woodland.
I know this story, yeah? This guy shot a
Acres community. When the cops caught them, the men driving were Pau and Skies. The bullet shells and clothes fit the description, and they were charged with second-degree 2 counts of attempted and gun possession by a convicted felon. The trial is still ongoing with Spinabenz coming forward as a witness at the crime scene. What happens next will be revealed soon, and it looks like K Shorty will not be setting foot outside a prison cell for a very long time. Moving on to more popular rappers in the game, Young Thug's brother, Quantavious Greer, more commonly called Unfunk, was a member of the Young Slime Life gang that has shaken the hip-hop scene for the past few years. The group has been charged with racketeering, promoting violence, drug possession, and firearm possession. While many members and Young Thug's former friends worked with law enforcement to walk free or reduce their sentences, Unfunk was given 9.5 years in prison for violating the terms of his probation. These terms date back to 2019, long before YSL was in trouble. Before this, Greer served 11 years for a murder conviction. When he walked out of prison, it took him only 3 years to go back to the same prison for the YSL RICO case, which has lasted a very long time. He faced a 56-count RICO indictment and pleaded guilty to one of the counts, which was violating Georgia's RICO Act. He also pled guilty to another count of theft by receiving stolen property. This reduced his sentence of 10 years on probation to just 2 years, along with completing 750 hours of community service. He and his brother also had to follow a curfew and stay away from any sort of firearms. Like K Shorty's case, this too was completely avoidable. In May 2023, an Atlanta police officer pulled him over at a gas station. Unfunk was driving his black Mercedes G-Wagon and was suspected to be part of a drug deal at the time. The officer also found a handgun on the driver's side of the door panel, which was a clear violation of his probation. They also found that Greer wasn't paying his probation fees and didn't complete the required hours of community service.
I'm going to revoke the balance of 9 years and 6 months. And you will serve that in the Department of Corrections,
is what the judge said. After showing clear frustration over Greer not following his probation terms, he emphasized how this could have easily been avoided and found him unfit for probation. The last shot of the rapper was a confused look as he talked to his attorney. It's going to be a long time till we see members of the YSL releasing music again. Just like Suge Knight will be out of the picture for what he did back in 2018. The owner of Death Row Records has had a long and controversial career in the 90s. Feuds with Sean Diddy Combs and trouble with the law had him going in and out of prison for years. The real conspiracy was when both Knight and Diddy, being rap moguls and the big dogs of the game, were accused of orchestrating the murders of Tupac Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G. But this wasn't the reason Suge was given a 28-year sentence in 2018. His conviction was for running over a Compton businessman, Terry Carter, because of some dispute. Suge was fighting Terry and Cleabone Sloan outside a burger stand in January 2015.
I'm going to revoke the balance of 9 years and 6 months. And you will serve that in the Department of Corrections.
Sloan was responsible for Knight's portrayal in the NWA biopic, Straight Outta Compton. In the movie, Knight is the film's antagonist. shown as a bloodthirsty businessman responsible for the downfall of Eazy-E and the rest of the group. Suge ended up injuring Sloan with his car and ending Carter's life. After the judge stated his sentence, Suge got up and stared at Carter's family and the rest of the members of the courtroom. Many say this was the textbook definition of a death stare. The scariest part is that Suge is considered one of the most dangerous men in the music industry. And yes, if he were a free man today, he'd be even more dangerous than Diddy is after all those allegations. The weeks inside the courtroom had people seeing a frenzy of different behaviors displayed by Knight. He started laughing when the judge refused to reduce his bail, collapsed when his bail was set to $25 million, and gave everyone very scary looks, especially when Carter's family members were reading their impact statements. Carter's daughter had every right to resent the man wearing orange in court and said to the judge, "I ask that you sentence this unrepentant, remorseless, cold, callous menace to society to the maximum of 28 years. Given his health conditions, no one knows if Suge will be alive by the time he walks out of prison. If you do the math, he will be released in 2046, which is around the same time R. Kelly will complete his prison sentence." Many people know about this case, but just to recap, he was found guilty of producing child pornography and coercing minors to engage in inappropriate conduct. There wasn't just one minor involved, because reports revealed that there were multiple underage girls that he abused both physically and sexually. All this happened in the 1990s when he was in his 30s, and the girls were as young as 15. He was once considered to be the best R&B singer of his time and had multiple Grammys to his name. He sold millions of units worldwide and even wrote one of the most iconic songs ever made, Michael Jackson's "You're Not Alone." In 2002, video recordings were leaked that involved him with an underage girl, which led to him getting prosecuted for child pornography. He was acquitted 6 years later, but this wasn't the last time he'd be in the courtroom, with millions around the world looking at him in disgust. A documentary titled "Surviving R. Kelly" revealed the victim's experience with the singer. RCA Records ended up terminating their contract with him. The man was at his limit, and it was obvious when he threw a tantrum on CBS This Morning. As heartbreaking as Kelly was trying to make this performance, people showed no remorse. This was one of the first times in history when a celebrity lost his cool in a live interview. His settlers tried to sue him and had to get his makeup redone during the interview. But an attorney against his case spoke about what many people around the world were thinking. With today's sentence, a predator is being held accountable for the years of abuse he inflicted on minor victims. Kelly used his celebrity and wealth to attract and victimize young girls, and to obstruct prior criminal proceedings intended to end his despicable conduct. We commend the courage and the strength of the victims who came forward in this case to expose Kelly's crimes. Our office will never cease seeking justice for victims of child abuse, and the public can take comfort knowing that Kelly will never again be in a position to exploit young girls. The justice system believed that he was not an innocent man, no matter how many tantrums he threw in his interviews. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison for racketeering and trafficking. It looks like he'll be walking out alongside Suge Knight at this point. There have been many rappers over the years who have tried their best to defend their case, but piles of evidence stacked up against them every time. Tory Lanez took matters to social.
Last Friday, I went out with a guy who was older than me, much older than me. According to his driver's license, he was 71 years old. We ended up going back to his place and jumped into bed, and it was actually great. Not only did this guy get rock hard, harder than any guy I've been with in a long time, but he could last for hours. I mean, he had so much energy. He was like a wild animal, and this guy is like 3 times my age. At the end, we were both covered in sweat. I was so exhausted. I was the one begging him for a break. I remember I had the biggest smile on my face, and all I could ask him was what his secret was. Like, how does a guy your age have way more energy and
media, and even his songs to try to convince everyone that Megan Thee Stallion was lying about the case. In 2020, Lonnie's was accused of firing a gun at the WAP rapper while they were together. Megan claimed that he wasn't himself that night, was under the influence, and threatened her several times. The argument started because she was ready to go, when the rest of the people in the car weren't. Megan found this to be normal banter that was common amongst friends. She claimed to have never raised her voice or laid her hands on anyone when she broke into tears recalling that night. She continued to tell host Gayle King that he was standing at the window of the car when this happened. This was a very serious matter, and one small misstep would have cost the female rapper's life. She thought that the evidence was enough, which included bullets and injuries, which is why she couldn't believe that she had to go to court and give her testimony.
I didn't do this stuff. This is not me, y'all. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this. I gave y'all 30 years of my career.
Robert.
30 years of my career. Y'all trying to me. You killing me, man. This is not about music. I'm trying to have a relationship with my kids, and I can't do it. Y'all just don't want to believe the truth.
So I get out the car, and it's like everything happens so fast. And all I hear is this man screaming. He said, "Dance, bitch." And he started shooting, and I'm just like, oh my God.
Now, this case had fans divided into two extreme ends. Many people supported Megan and her appeal. These were the same people who were completely against Lanez, his shady lyrics, and everything he said against the rapper. But there were the same number of people who said that Megan was lying about the whole thing. They thought that she was doing this for attention because she was falling off after a series of singles that didn't do so well in the charts. Many other rappers took sides too, with 50 Cent having to apologize to Megan for accusing her of lying. Iggy Azalea was one of the 70 people who supported Lanez to the extent of sending the judge a letter in support of the hearing. The trial went on for a few years and eventually ended with Tory being sentenced to 10 years in prison. He was charged with assault with a semi-automatic firearm, discharging a firearm with malicious intent, and having a loaded and unregistered firearm. But jail time wasn't going to cut it. Prosecutors wanted him to do 13 years behind bars, but Tory's team reduced the sentence to 10. He's also at risk of getting deported to Canada. This could have gone way worse if one of the fired bullets actually hit Megan Thee Stallion, like it did for Tamor Trayvon McIntyre, better known as Tay K. Don't mistake him for Tay Keith, the 27-year-old producer with the very famous tagline and ad-lib that's well known in all his songs. Back in 2019, he was on trial for a murder and robbery charge, which happened in 2016. 21-year-old Ethan Walker was found unalived, while Zachary Belote was shot and injured severely. Tay K was just 16 years old. This crime wasn't done alone. He was accompanied by 6 accomplices during the home invasion, where one of them caused Walker to lose his life in the botched robbery. Letharian Merritt was sentenced to life in prison, while Sean Robinson, who shot Belote, was sentenced to 40 years in prison. Tamor caused no harm to either person, but was the one who received a 55-year sentence, costing him his career and life. When he was apprehended after the robbery, he was placed on house arrest and had to wear an ankle monitor at all times. This didn't stop Tay K from making music, nor did it stop him from breaking the law. When his music was getting attention and he was rising to fame, McIntyre broke the ankle monitor and violated his house arrest. On March 26, 2017, he announced his decision by tweeting, "This house arrest, they gine have two, catch me on hood." On June 30th, he released the music video for The Race, which talks about him running from the law. Ironically, he was apprehended by the United States Marshals that upon further investigation, the police found out that Tay K shot and slayed Mark Anthony Saldivar, a 23-year-old photographer in San Antonio, on April 23, 2017. To add fuel to the fire, Oni Skip Pepe and his wife Barbara filed a lawsuit against the rapper for robbing them in May 2017. The lawsuit claims that he was involved in a physical altercation with Pepe, who's a 65-year-old man, while he was walking in Arlington's Cravens Park. The old man was left unconscious, with multiple broken bones and internal bleeding in the brain. McIntyre then dragged him off the trail so that he could leave him for dead. Other rappers noticed how someone so young was on a violent rampage, portraying themselves as a menace to society. Donald Glover said, "Look at this kid. He's a baby. He never had a chance. Y'all are forgetting what rap is. Rap is, I don't care what you think in society, wagging your finger at me for calling women bitches, when, for you to have 2 cars, I have to live in the projects." Gambino described McIntyre as a young black kid in Texas with on him. He thinks he's definitely going to leave this world, and that it's very sad. When the judge announced his prison sentence of 55 years, he slowly rolled his head to the side. This was the reaction of a young man knowing his life was over before it even began. There are still many more trials to come in the future, like the ongoing case of Hakeem Robinson, known by his rap name, KSOO. He was charged with a murder that was committed in 2020 that was due to a gang war. The 2 victims were 23-year-old Charles McCormick, or Lil Buck, and Adrian Bibby Gaynor, who died in 2019 when he was just 16 years old. KSOO has been behind bars since September 2020, and his trial date is set for August 19th, 2024. When he found out that he'd been charged with first-degree and that the police had a warrant for the case, all he could say was, in utter confusion and hopelessness. Robinson is part of the ATK, a group of rappers from Jacksonville. They beefed with KTA, led by rapper Foolio. A lot more will be revealed as KSOO's trial proceeds later in 2024. Since he's accused of first-degree murder and there's enough evidence for him to be guilty, you can probably guess what his reaction will be.
What?
Yes.
For what?
You want your
Right, my dear friends. Don't forget to put likes, write a comment, and please subscribe, alright? Big respect, big love. Big up, bro. Big up.